Welcome back to the second installment of this Plants vs Zombies 2 challenge where I subject myself to death by one lane. That's right, we can't use 4 out of the 5 lanes on our lawn. Why am I doing this? Because I like pain and suffering. All jokes aside though, I do really enjoy making these videos for you guys, and I've been itching to get this one out, but a little something called university has been consuming a lot of my time. But rest assured, my semester ends pretty soon, and from this point onwards I'm going to take a little bit less of a heavy load of courses, so I can put more time into YouTube. In other news, not only did we hit the massive 50,000 subs since the last video, we actually exceeded that. We're currently at 56,000 subs, and that's just absurd. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing and liking this video to support me on my goal to make Plants vs Zombies content great again. Anyway, that's enough yapping from me, time for the challenge, starting with Lost City. Believe it or not, the jump from Frostbite Caves to Lost City was really relieving. Why? No more freezing winds and no more blockheads. It's as simple as that. Having gold tiles is always nice as well. Sadly for Sweet Potato, there's not really much use for her now that the slider tiles are gone, so she's gonna have to be watching from the sidelines from here on out. In other news, Day 2 introduced the Lost Pilot Zombies who usually aggravate our homing thistles and die immediately anyway. Day 4 introduced Excavator Zombie. Now time to answer the question you've all been waiting for and I've been dreading to answer. Can homing thistle hit them? And the answer is no. Kind of. While homing thistle can't hit excavator from the front, it can hit it from the back like a lot of other plants. Don't get me wrong, they're still annoying, but we can definitely handle them. On day 6 I found out that excavator zombie is even immune to homing thistle's plant food ability from the front. What would often happen is one excavator would tank all the missiles and protect the rest of the zombies until it got far enough into the lawn that our homing thistles can hit it from behind. Do you think this was too much plant food? Nah. On day 10 I messed around with the Endurian, but it really wasn't doing it for me. I swear if Endurian just had a little more health, it would actually be a decent plant. Day 11 went by without any problems. The new bug zombies were kind of annoying but manageable with our homing thistles. For day 12 we had to produce 5,000 sun. This sounded like a lot at first, but we had sun tiles, so I thought it would be fine. The level was going alright until randomly 20 seconds into the level they sent a Gargantua. Okay, shouldn't be too much of an issue, it's just a Gargantua, right? Well, remember that we need to produce a bunch of sun as well. What ended up happening was I was forced to dig up all the sunflowers to put down homing thistles to beat the Gargantua. And for the cherry on top, the Gargantua was on their outer lane, so we couldn't get it with Shrinking Violet. Okay, so one Gargantua, that's not too much of an inconvenience. We can always build our twin sunflowers back up. Nope. The level then spawns 2 more Gargantuas. We ended up losing because between the 3 Gargantuas in this level, I couldn't keep enough twin sunflowers on the lawn over homing thistles to meet the sun goal. On the second attempt I decided to re-strategize and move to plan B since things clearly weren't working. What was plan B? Trying to beat the level the exact same way as before like an idiot. So I tried plan C, which was to do what most people do on these levels and wait until the final wave to stall the last zombie with walnuts until we could get enough sun. This plan would have worked if the final wave actually spawned a zombie in the middle lane. So it was time for plan D, which was plan C but in the top lane. And this time we actually won. That level should not have taken as long as it did. Day 15 looked harder than it really was. And that was mostly down to the gluttonous amount of plant food that we were given. Day 17 threw a curveball in the form of importer zombies. Homing thistles don't target the tents while there are other zombies on the lawn, so they just leave them there to spawn zombies perpetually. But a bit of plant food does the trick. Day 19 was heavy with bug zombies, who I really think Shrinking Violet should eliminate considering she gets rid of imps which are a similar size to bugs. But the level was fine anyway. Day 20 was really annoying though. The issues I've been talking about for both bugs and importers were compounded together. Bug zombies distracted our homing thistles, which allowed the importers to creep far enough to put their tents, which again our homing thistles don't bother destroying. All of which culminated in this ending where I thought I'd beat the level, but the zombies from the tents slowly edged our death until a headless zombie ended our suffering. We tried again and I moved our setup to the bottom lane simply because nearly all of the outer lanes were gold tiles. I don't know why I didn't do that to begin with, to be honest. Also, an importer put down his tent and then reappeared to play his death animation. I just kind of found that funny. Day 23 was chaotic to say the least. Relic hunters showed up for the first time, which was not a pleasant surprise since they're tanky and good at distracting our homing thistles. We had so many zombies flooding the lawn that I decided to shrink them all with Shrinking Violet's plant food. The only problem was that the shrunken zombies sometimes have really janky hitboxes, and this causes the missiles to take 3 to 5 business days to actually hit them instead of circling around aimlessly. They say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I must have been clinically insane when I tried to do the same thing with Shrinking Violet again on the next few attempts. And the missiles were going just as insane as I was trying to hit the tiny zombies. And what do you know, in the next attempt I refrained from using Shrinking Violet and we actually won. But it was still extremely close, we only had 1 lawnmower left. Often in these challenges, the amount of remaining lawnmowers is a good indicator of how hard the levels are getting. and if this is an accurate representation, I don't know what is. And then in the very next level, we had our lawnmowers effectively stripped away from us because of flower lines. Man, I hate these flowers sometimes. On about the 4th attempt, the homing thistles actually caused us to lose because of this absolute stupidity you're seeing right now. After a few more attempts, I realized I could avoid that mistake by just digging up all the homing thistles and letting the bugs fly over the flowers, then replanting the homing thistles. But this was far from ideal since it left us with basically no homing thistles on a final wave. But beating the level this way was definitely possible since there were only a few zombies left when we lost. But then after a few more attempts I realized that all of that was unnecessary because I could just be more precise and optimal with homing thistle, cherry bomb and shrinking violet placements. I eventually got all of those down consistently, which led to winning the level, finally. Day 25 was one of those levels where it's mostly given plants. However, like in the peashooter challenge, I decided to include these levels in the challenge since we can still bring our key players, homing thistle and cherry bomb. Even with only those 2 plants on our side, this level was leagues easier than the last. The same could be said about day 26. Turquoise skull zombies were featured on day 27, but they weren't too much of an issue. We just had to make sure we planted our homing thistles at the back and the sunflowers closer up front. Either way, they were effectively normal zombies 4/5 of the time. The level still took many attempts, but at this point of the game, that's a given. Day 29 was going really well compared to the past few levels, but I let my guard down and a gargantua snuck through the top lane of the final wave. Our next attempt was going better until the stupid homing thistles targeted the gargantua on the bottom lane, which we actually had a lawnmower in, causing us to lose to the one in the top lane again. Nice one, idiots. To make sure that didn't happen again, I made sure we didn't lose our top lane lawnmower, but in the process we lost the bottom lane mower, and now the homing thistles decided to target the top one. I was just lost for words staring at my screen as I got absolutely trolled and bullied by fictional thistles with faces. Then on the next go, both of the gargantuas got through. I was starting to question if the level would even be possible at this point. And that's not something I thought I would consider in the Lost City, which is usually an easy world. But man, not even the sun tiles could help us out in some of these later levels. It was that bad. Anyway, back to day 29. I got another promising run and well, I'll just show you what happened. I'm honestly convinced these homing thistles hate me. They probably have good reason to anyway, since I've been forcing them to fight zombies over and over again, hour after hour. Plants are kinda like Pokemon in that aspect. We as players are just enslaving them and their life's only purpose is to engage in combat and die protecting us while we sit back and relax. That sounds like a red-pilled description of a 9 to 5 hierarchy too. On the next attempt, the homing thistles finally targeted the right gargantua, but there were too many zombies for it to matter anyway. After hours of attempts, we finally got one where the final wave had lawnmowers in every lane, so it didn't matter what the homing thistles wanted to do. Take that, homing thistles. After all those ridiculous levels, day 30 turned out to be really easy. We beat it on our first attempt. For a lot of these worlds, it seems like the difficulty spikes in the late 20s levels while the 30s levels are the complete opposite. And that wraps up Lost City since the last 2 levels are given plants levels. Day 1 was pretty uneventful. The power tiles gimmick might be useful in some levels, but most levels will be like this one where there's only one power tile in our lane, which is literally useless. Shield zombies showed up on day 2. They were kind of annoying since they block homing thistle's shots, but we could cherry bomb them most of the time. At the end of day 3 we unlocked Blover, who will be really useful for this world. That's because Blover can hit every lane despite only being planted in one. I wish the devs didn't mess up the world order so we could have had Blover in Lost City, but we managed even with all the annoying bug zombies. Day 4 was a sun bombs level which I beat with only 2 jalapenos in the bottom lane. I'm certain this level could be possible without planning anything though. Day 5 was easy since the game showered us in plant food, while day 7 showcased how good Blover is for this world. Not only does it wipe out all the jetpacks, but also the imp swarms as they drop from the sky. In day 9 we weren't allowed more than 15 plants, which is impossible for us anyway since we only have 9 tiles to work with. I discovered that shrunken shield zombies still have a massive 3-lane shield. I would have assumed the shield would shrink with a zombie, but apparently not. Day 10 introduced Discotrons, which are usually one of the more difficult zombies in challenge runs of this game, but since we actually have Blover this time, they were easy to handle. Day 11 was the last stand level, which wasn't too bad because again, most of the threatening zombies we could just Blover away. We still had to rely heavily on our lawnmowers to win though. Day 12 was easy, but day 13 brought football mechs, which were a huge pain. You can probably tell why just by looking at our setup, which looks like something a football mech could only dream of. Additionally, these guys can tank a whole cherry bomb. We made it through the level quite easily, but I just know these guys are going to be annoying later on. Day 14 was easy, again mostly because there were so many jetpacks we could just blow away. Day 15 was easy, unlike day 18 where we lost at first because of the high sun goal and limited space we had to plant sunflowers. But by playing the level more slowly and putting more emphasis on twin sunflowers, we managed to pull through. Day 19 was another sun bombs level, and for once we actually had more than one power tile of the same color in our lane. That made the level probably way too easy though. Day 20 looked really bad initially. That's because there was an endangered starfruit in every single lane and they were dangerously far to the right. Clearly our old strategy wasn't going to suffice. We had to somehow protect every lane from zombies. Then it clicked. Infinite. We unlocked Infinite somewhere during Far Future and I didn't even notice, which is a shame because this guy's plant food is really great for this challenge. I mean, just look at this. We managed to succeed by using Blover on every imp swarm and keeping Infinite handy. Day 21 was another sun production level, so we made use of the 2 red power tiles in our lane to double our twin sunflower plant foods. There were also a lot of Discotrons, but we could just cherry bomb them before they became a problem since they're all in the middle 3 lanes. Day 22 was the last stand level, so we had to get creative with our setup. At first I tried an ordinary mix of homing thistle and coconut cannon, but that didn't work out. I then thought of using sweet potato to group the middle 3's lanes zombies together to increase the effectiveness of our coconut cannons, which worked well. On the final wave we used the mower launch ability that we unlocked recently to destroy the Gargantua Prime, which was pulled into our lane by sweet potato. Homing Thistle then cleaned up the leftover jetpacks and coneheads. Barely. Day 23 was a fairly basic level, we just had to be careful with our sun usage since there was a sun limit. Day 24 was a sun bombs level, which was just as easy as the previous one. And that's Far Future complete since Day 25 is the Zomboss conveyor level. This world went by relatively smoothly and I just hope the next one does as well, which might be a tall order as it's none other than Dark Ages. This world has a gruesome track record in my challenge videos. In both the 1 Seeds Hot series and the peashooter series, we had to cut our losses in this world since we couldn't produce any sun. This is obviously a problem because this is the one world where sun doesn't fall naturally. However, as long as they're planted in our lane, we can finally use sun producers this time around. But there will be some other problematic parts of this world that we'll get to soon. Night 1 was a breeze since we enlisted Kiwi Beast once again since the zombies in the level were no stronger than coneheads. This resulted in some good old fashioned carnage that we haven't seen since the last video. We actually had lost our first attempt at night 2, losing the second level of a world, which I don't think has happened so far in this run. I realized the reason why we lost was because when the game auto-selected Sunshroom and Puffshroom into our seed deck, it kicked out Kiwi Beast. So on the next attempt I promptly brought back Kiwi Beast and tore the zombies to bits. Night 3 was similar. It's just amazing how Kiwi Beast can hit all 5 lanes in its final form and its plant food just straight up deletes everything. Then there was Night 5. Can you guess what the problem is here? Homing Thistle can't hit Jester zombies, and when I say it can't, I mean it can't. It can't hit them from the back, it can't hit them from the front, not even its plant food missiles can hit them. In other words, we're screwed. Or are we? Well, we still have Kiwi Beast, so I tried Kiwi Beast and well, it worked. By chaining plant foods on Kiwi Beast every wave, we just demolished the whole level, not just the Jesters. But using Kiwi Beast to beat Jesters is far from a perfect strategy. The Jesters have to be in the same lane as the Kiwi Beast or else we have to use plant food to deal with them. This is because Jesters for some reason are tankier than your typical zombies, so the Kiwi Beast's normal splash damage doesn't cut it. Night 6 was the last stand level, so I placed the usual homing thistles in Kiwi Beast, but I also planted Snapdragons as a kind of backup plan for the Jesters. This worked very efficiently. I also discovered something big in this level. Something I would have never thought of before. When new gravestones spawn on the same tile as one of our plants, the plant will be pushed back into a nearby tile to make room for the gravestone. So we could actually get a Kiwi Beast in the second lane by manipulating this game mechanic. While this might have been a gimmicky technique, I still held onto it in my memory in case we could use it later. Night 7 gave us a break from Jesters, instead having us fight night zombies who are no less vulnerable to our big maniacal kiwi fruits bouncing from side to side. Day 9 was pretty tough. It took a few attempts because of Jester zombies being Jester zombies, but by exclusively using our plant food on Jesters with Kiwi Beasts, we eventually beat the level. I always wonder every time I play through this world, what's in those potions? Is it fentanyl? Well, that would explain why the zombies look so slouched and disgruntled. Night 11 flew straight at us with a bunch of Jesters, but the level also gave us a bunch of plant food, so you know exactly how that went down. There was also some newly introduced wizard zombies who weren't all that bad to be honest. We could just homing thistle them, blow them up, or Kiwi Beast them. Night 12 was an endangered plants level which, much like Far Future Day 20, had a whole column of endangered plants for us to defend. However, we could just use plant food on Infinite to protect all the puffshrooms. Apart from that, this level was just more Kiwi Beast plant fooding. Night 14 was a bit of a problem. We had to produce sun by destroying sun gravestones that spawned throughout the level. That was easy enough with Kiwi Beast to splash in other lanes. But this alone wasn't enough to give us enough sun to win. We also had to use sunbeans. The problem is we only have one lane to plant sunbeans in. So what we had to do was make sure we sunbeamed every single zombie that entered our lane before we killed them to just barely meet the sun quota after we sunbeamed the last zombie. If the game didn't send a night zombie on a final wave, this level would have straight up been impossible. Night 15 had an absolutely mental final wave that had me stumped for a few attempts. I genuinely didn't think I could beat it. But then I realized if I held on to all my lawnmowers until the final wave, then I didn't have to beat it. The lawnmowers could do it for me. Night 16 introduces zombie kings who aren't that bad of a problem because we have Magnet Shroom, and of course, no one is safe from the wrath of our kiwi beasts. Night 17 was another evil potions level and it was even harder than the last. On this attempt, some really weird chain of events occurred so that we had a sheep on top of a gravestone with a tile in front that I couldn't place anything on. This actually caused us to lose since I couldn't place a cherry bomb on the wizard and jester. After watching back the footage, I'm pretty sure this happened because the game spawned the gravestone where the sheep was, but the gravestone didn't recognize the sheep as a sheep, but rather the kiwi beast that was previously there. So the game thought that a kiwi beast was moved one tile ahead to make way for the gravestone, when what actually happened was the gravestone spawned on the same tile as the sheep. So an invisible plant resulting from the game's confusion blocked us from placing our cherry bomb on the tile in front. This game, man. This level turned out to be really tough. The waves just flood you with knights, jesters, wizards, and kings, literally every Dark Ages threat. But after having that weird glitch happen to me, I was inspired. I noticed that gravestones repetitively and exclusively spawned in the middle column. So by planting a plant on either side of the middle tile on our row, we could ensure that whatever plant we placed in the middle would be bounced off to the lane above or below when the next set of gravestones spawned there. By repeating this over the course of the level, we managed to spread a kiwi beast army across 4 of the 5 lanes of the lawn. These kiwi beasts shut down all of the threats I mentioned earlier simply because of the sheer number of them. This doesn't look like it should be possible in a challenge where we can only use one lane, but it most certainly is by abusing game mechanics. And finally, for Dark Ages, we have Night 19. And for once, the final level in the world actually lives up to its status. This one was pretty hard. We had to protect 3 endangered magnet shrooms, of which only one was in the 3-lane range where we can actually do anything. So we used the old infinite trick, and with a lot of trial and error, we managed to find the right kiwi beast timings and sunshroom spamming extent to last us through the level. Thankfully, the king zombies were basically nullified by our magnet shrooms. As usual with these save our seeds levels, there were a few moments where the zombies got a little too close for comfort, or even got a cheeky taste of our endangered plants. And that's it for Dark Ages. Yes, Dark Ages is actually possible in this challenge. Finally a challenge where this world doesn't end our run. But will Neon Mixtape Tour be possible? There's only one way to find out. Day 1 was easy as expected. I can't describe how good it felt to not have to worry about jesters anymore. Fatbeat was the star of the show in Day 2. Theoretically it could be useful here, but it's just so bad that I can't bring myself to use it, even for this challenge. Punk zombies were new to this level too, but there weren't enough of them to be an issue. But you can probably guess why they will definitely be an issue for us later in a very similar way to football mechs. Day 4 was such an easy level that I forgot to write down any notes for it. At least, that's what I'm assuming because again, I forgot to write anything down. Day 5 was an endangered plants level with a bunch of punk zombies. This would be a problem if Infinite's plant food barrier didn't stop the punk zombies dead in their tracks. Day 7 was very full on, and the first level where the pace was fast enough for the punk zombies to actually become a problem. Why are they a problem? For the same reason as football mechs. Our most frontmost plants get booted into non-existence. This level also had the new glitter zombies who steamroll any plant in front of them. These zombies combined were spammed enough to make our kiwi beasts useless in this level. Given how much kiwi beast has been carrying us lately, this is a big issue. There are also a lot of bucketheads overwhelming our limited homing thistles. But then I remembered that we have a certain magnetic plant from Dark Ages that can reach all 5 lanes. That's right, it's time to take some shrooms into this level. Magnet shrooms. In case you didn't know, these guys will just tear their heads right off any punk zombies. So this means Magnet Shroom nullifies 2 of the 3 zombies I mentioned previously. That was enough to make the level doable. Not easy, but possible nonetheless. I also used a combination of Sweet Potato and Hurricane to attract zombies to our lane and then push them back to help reduce the load on our homing thistles. This was also a good way of clumping the glitter and buckethead zombies together so we could cherry bomb them. This way we also got a lot of value out of our Hurricane since we're effectively hurricaning 3 lanes instead of 1 thanks to Sweet Potato. For some reason Day 8 was a lot easier than Day 7. We used the same combos and strategies here for an easy win. I also realized one plant food on Magnet Shroom could wipe out all of the punks on the screen. At that point, why don't the punk zombies just take out their piercings? Day 12 was more or less the same as Day 7 but with a Gargantua at the end. And yes, there were 4 locked and loaded levels or conveyor belt levels between Day 8 and Day 12. Day 13 was just an absolute mess, just everything everywhere all at once. I legitimately thought this level would be the end of the run. But after an hour of trying to beat the level and only being able to get to the final wave, I realized I could just cheese the level by using plant food we were given on Time Warp and stalling out the zombies until we could final wave mower them. Day 15 was really painful for many reasons, all of which revolved around our endangered fat beats being tortured in various ways, including but not limited to microphones being swung at them, being crushed by rollerblades, and being eaten alive. Also, there was an attempt where I used plant food on an Infinite and it just didn't work. Either way, Infinite's plant food ability didn't really help us win here despite our endangered plants, because the MC zombies and glitter zombies insta-kill the shield anyway. Although this level took many attempts to beat, I figured out that the key to win was to spam as many magnet shrooms as possible. Divide the zombies from their armor, then conquer. Day 17 on the other hand was a breeze, and our magnet shrooms absolutely obliterated day 18, which was largely composed of punks and bucketheads. Day 20 was just as easy, as was day 21, where we had some gargantuan problems on the final wave before I remembered Shrinking Violet exists. Day 23 and 24 were straightforward, since they went easy on us to introduce the arcade zombies. Days 25 and 26 were also first attempt victories. This run of levels was really confusing to me, since Neon Mixtape Tour is usually a pretty rough world. Day 28 was yet another extremely easy level that we beat first try. I couldn't really pin down exactly why this was the case. I think it may just be because of Magnet Shroom, but I don't know for certain. Day 29 was actually a bit of a step up, finally. But it wasn't because of the new boombox zombies, but rather the hair metal Gargantua who snipes our plants across the whole lawn. I don't care what you say, this right here is the most annoying Gargantua. On about the 5th attempt, we lost by one basic zombie. That one hurt, not gonna lie. We did it on the next attempt though. Day 30 was the last level in Neon Mixtape Tour for this challenge, and it was immediately apparent that the previous levels had lulled me into a false sense of security. This level was brutal. However, there wasn't anything particular about this level we had to watch out for. It was just a full-on dialed up to 11 level with all of the world's zombies. But with that being said, it only took about half an hour to grind this one out. The hardest part was getting a good setup into the final wave where two Gargantuas spawned, one of which is out of our shrinking and cherry bombing range. But with just enough homing thistles down, we could clean the wave up. Barely though. And with Neon Mixtape Tour complete, that wraps up this video. All things considered, this installment was very successful in my opinion. We're still going strong with no impossible levels yet, but that can and probably will all change in the next video, where we'll be covering the final 3 worlds of the game: Jurassic Marsh, Big Wave Beach, and Modern Day. Definitely make sure you don't miss it.